What truly survives when the very concept of money crumbles? We trust it, we work for it, we build our lives around it. But what happens when that trust evaporates, when the paper in your wallet becomes worthless? This isn't a dystopian fantasy, it's a question etched into history, time and time again. Let's unravel what remains when the financial world as we know it fails. To understand its failure, we must first understand what money is. At its core, it's a social contract, a shared belief. It began as commodity money, shells, salt, or cattle, things with intrinsic value. Over time, we transitioned to representative money, like gold and silver coins, and eventually to the fiat currency we use today. Fiat money, like the US dollar or the euro, has value only because a government declares it does, and because we, the people, agree to accept it as a medium of exchange. Our entire global economy is built on this delicate foundation of trust, but history is littered with the ghosts of failed currencies. We've seen sovereign defaults, where nations simply refuse to pay their debts. We've witnessed hyperinflation, where prices spiral out of control so fast that money becomes meaningless. And we've experienced bank collapses that wipe out life savings overnight. These aren't isolated incidents. They are recurring patterns in the story of finance. The story begins simply. Early societies needed a more efficient way to trade than simple barter. So, money emerged, a tool to store value and simplify exchange. Trust was built slowly, based on the scarcity and desirability of the chosen commodity. As civilizations grew, so did their financial systems. Banks emerged, creating credit and enabling economic expansion. The gold standard was introduced to peg the value of paper money to a physical asset, providing a sense of security and stability. For a time, this system fueled unprecedented growth, but this growth often carried the seeds of its own destruction. Let's look at the Weimar Republic in Germany after World War I. Saddled with immense war reparations, the government resorted to printing massive amounts of money. The result? Hyperinflation so extreme that people used wheelbarrows of cash to buy a loaf of bread. Money and the savings of an entire generation died. Fast forward to Zimbabwe in the late 2000s. Similar story, different continent. Land reforms disrupted the agricultural economy, tax revenues plummeted, and the government turned on the printing presses to fund its spending. Inflation reached astronomical levels, with the government eventually issuing a $100 trillion bill that could barely buy groceries. The Zimbabwean dollar was officially abandoned. Then there's Argentina, a country trapped in a cycle of debt and default. Multiple times in the last century, it has defaulted on its sovereign debt, leading to currency devaluation, bank freezes, and social chaos. The people lost faith not only in their money, but in their institutions. And who could forget the 2008 global financial crisis? It wasn't hyperinflation, but a crisis of trust in the opposite direction. Complex financial instruments, built on a mountain of subprime mortgage debt, collapsed. Banks that were considered too big to fail teetered on the brink. Credit markets froze. The very plumbing of the global financial system seized up, demonstrating that even in the modern era, the trust that underpins our money is incredibly fragile. When these collapses happen, governments and central banks scramble to fix the problem. We see a predictable playbook. They print more money, which often just fuels the inflationary fire. They try redenomination, lopping zeros off the currency, a cosmetic fix that doesn't address the root cause. They attempt debt restructuring or seek international bailouts, which can lead to painful austerity measures. Sometimes they peg their currency to a more stable one, like the US dollar, but this can be difficult to maintain. More often than not, these are desperate measures for a system already in cardiac arrest. So, are we immune today? Let's look at the numbers. Global debt, both public and private, has reached unprecedented levels, far exceeding the world's economic output. Central banks have engaged in years of quantitative easing, essentially creating money out of thin air to inject into the financial system. Our credit systems are more interconnected and complex than ever before, meaning a failure in one part of the world can trigger a global contagion almost instantly. These are not signs of a robust system. They are echoes of the same vulnerabilities we've seen throughout history. This brings us back to our central question. When the numbers on the screen and the paper in our hands lose their meaning, what endures? First, real assets. These are tangible things that have intrinsic value. Land that can grow food, natural resources like timber and minerals, energy sources that power our lives. Throughout history, during times of monetary collapse, those who owned productive land or essential commodities were able to preserve their wealth far better than those holding paper currency. Real assets can't be printed into oblivion. Second, and perhaps more importantly, is social capital. This is the network of trust, reciprocity, and community that binds us together. When formal economies fail, informal ones emerge. People turn to barter, trading goods and services directly. A farmer might trade eggs for a mechanic's help fixing a tractor. In this world, your reputation, your reliability, your honesty, your skills becomes your most valuable currency. A strong community where people support each other is a powerful form of insurance against systemic collapse. Finally, human capital survives. This is the sum of your knowledge, your skills, your health, and your ability to work and create. Can you grow food? Can you build a shelter? Can you fix things? Can you provide a critical service like medical care or security? In a world without functioning money, a person's ability to produce things of real, tangible value becomes paramount. Skills are the one asset that can never be devalued or taken away from you. They are the ultimate source of wealth. So, as we navigate our complex modern world, let's hold on to three key takeaways. First, money is a tool built on trust, and that trust is more fragile than we think. Second, history shows us a clear pattern of what happens when that trust breaks. And third, true enduring wealth lies not in currency, but in real assets, strong communities, and our own skills and knowledge. The question isn't if another financial crisis will happen, but when and how severe it will be. What are you doing today to build wealth that can survive it? Thanks for watching. If this made you think, consider subscribing and joining the conversation below. We've got a lot more to explore together.